Fellow councillors, staff and residents viewing via live stream, good morning all and welcome. I acknowledge the traditional owners and caretakers of the land on which this meeting is being held and pay my respect to the elders past, present and emerging. Apologies, we have Kelly Slattery and Gobinder Singh. Are there any other apologies? Okay, we'll move on to the declaration of conflict of interest. Declaration of prescribed conflict of interest or declarable conflict of interest. Please use this opportunity to make public any prescribed conflict of interest or declarable conflict of interest in respect of the items in the agenda. Councillors should use this opportunity to disclose and or comment on other councillors and or staff interests in accordance with the Act and the regulations. Are there any conflicts to declare? Councillor Chewy.
Thank you. Through the Chair, yes, I have sent an email to the CEO advising him that I have a conflict on item 4.2, application for reduction of infrastructure charges. This property is in close proximity to my own and I will be stepping out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chewy. Councillor Pervin?
Yes, through the Chair. I myself have a conflict of interest in item. I've also notified the CEO I have a conflict of interest in item 4.1 in relation to application for reduction infrastructure charges. As the applicant in that has a there's potential beneficial gain for me.
And will you be departing
I'll be departing the room.
Thanks, Councillor Pervin. Councillor Millwood.
Through the Chair, I also have a conflict of interest in item 3.5, which is involves my application for leave. I also have sent an email to the CEO and I wish to leave the room at that decision making.
Thank you, Councillor Millwood. And Councillor McLeod.
Yes, through the Chair, I have also notified the CEO of that I have to declare a conflict of interest in item 3.5 for my request of leave also, and I will be leaving the room.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. Any other conflicts to declare? Okay, thanks, councillors. At this point, I suspend standing orders and like to introduce our new CEO, Andrew Graffin. I hand over to Andrew to say a few words and give us a background on your family and your career. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I feel privileged that my family and I have the opportunity to become a part of the community here. Broome has been home for me for the past 17 years, in which time I've enjoyed contributing through my roles in private industry, not-for-profit and local government, as well as through volunteer roles in local sporting clubs and school boards. Whilst Broome has been home, it's been a desire for myself and my family to relocate back to North Queensland. Completing my undergraduate studies in James Cook University, I have an affinity for the region and look forward to returning in a capacity that I can give back to the communities in the Cassowary Coast. One Coast, Cassowary Coast starts with us as an organisation, and I come into this role committing to communicate openly and honestly and encourage the community to do the same with me. As one of Australia's 3 spheres of government, local government's a sphere that most closely affects the daily lives of its residents, and as such we're in a position to positively influence the region and provide for its residents an opportunity to live, work and prosper. I'm committed to listening and understanding the community priorities and delivering Council's vision of One Coast, Cassowary Coast. I've been really encouraged so far by my first week in the role through the organisation and Council and the community that I've met, and really looking forward to working with this Council moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Graffin. Would any councillors like to make some welcoming comments? Councillor Millwood.
Through the Chair, yes, I'd like to welcome our new CEO, Mr. Andrew Graffin, his wife Brodie and his daughter Poppy to the Cassowary Coast, and I hope you enjoy your time here.
Thank you, Councillor Millwood. Any further comments, councillors? Councillor Pervin.
Yes, I myself would like to wish Mr. Graffin all the best in his role as CEO and welcome him and his family to our community.
Thank you, Councillor Pervin. Any further comments? Welcome. Okay, we'll return to the agenda. Item 1, 1.1, page 2, the minutes of the local government meeting held on the 26th of August, and also item 1.2, page 15, the special meeting held on the 1st of September. Would somebody move that those minutes are a true and accurate record, please? Moved by Councillor Barnes, seconded by Councillor Pervin. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 2, any business arising from either of those minutes? Councillor Pervin.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Just a brief touchdown on Targa. Targa item 7.4, general business, previous meeting. Targa was conducted on the weekend, and I would just like to personally say thank you and well done to all our staff and the community for getting behind such a great event. I watched the race on Lawrence Road, made my way into town, and it was good to see the town just bustling with so much activity. And once again, thank you to our staff that were all involved and to the wider community for making such a great day on Father's Day. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Pervin. Any further business arising from either of those sets of minutes? Okay, we'll move on to item 3. Governance, Environment and Finance, item 3.1, page 19, Quarterly Progress Report, and Ms Kerr will present this report. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Ms Kerr.
Good morning. Today before you I have the fourth quarter operational plan report to the 30th of June 2021. The report outlines the activities in our operational plan that we have completed or on watch or on warning for the final quarter. I've outlined in my report the items that are on red or on warning and tried to give a brief detail on why those activities were not completed at the 30th of June. Through the chair, if anybody has any questions
Thank you,
on
Ms
the
Kerr.
report.
Any questions for the officer? Councillor Barnes.
Is that on 3.1, Mr Mayor, yeah?
Yes.
Reading through this, I don't know if this question is for Ms Kerr or Mr Sadler. Like, when you start off, you go to 1.52, at the end of it, it says project deferred, and the one underneath it, project deferred. It's a little bit, I'm a bit lost there, Mr Sadler. Where are we headed with those statements?
So through the chair, Deputy Mayor, thanks for the question. They both sit with the office of the CEO, and both those projects, so venue management plans have been deferred due to the staffing and resources were put to the Hinchinbrook STP project, as well as the waste day labour project, and that goes the same for the development of the business plan and operating models in relation to the CFO's space. So,
You comfortable with that response,
Yeah,
Councillor Barnes?
yeah, and also one more question. Like, we have a heap, if you go down there, you got council reserves. Now, that's the council land, but where does the bananas, sugarcane and the farming areas come into that, or is that in another section?
so through the chair, Deputy Mayor, I'm not exactly sure if you're asking around the bio security plans. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So item 2.8.1 was deferred just due to the fact that we haven't been able to fill our role in relation to our land management biosecurity officer role.
Good, thank you very much.
Councillor Baines.
Well, probably before Mr Sadler goes, if I may add a little bit more to that, Biosecurity Queensland are doing a lot of work with the FNQ Rock Councils, and so they're also working with our organisation. We are under-resourced at the moment. There is a vacant position, but there's a lot of work being done towards getting the agriculturalists in the region to pick up these biosecurity plans. There is a little bit of nervousness or pushback around it, so if you're speaking to any of the agriculturalists, really there's a lot of protections that can be put into place with these biosecurity plans. They're not as, look, they are onerous, but they're not ridiculously onerous, and biosecurity will assist, and our officers will assist in putting them together. So there's a big piece in that now around people not being able to access your property. We had those issues last year or the year before with them getting onto cattle properties, or people racing into abattoirs and trying to shut the business down, and these biosecurity protections under these plans are very beneficial to the landholders.
Thank you, Councillor Baines.
Just lastly, Mr Mayor, because I can remember in the budget that we had a staff allocation for this position, which I don't think is currently filled. Would I be right there? And I just think it's so important, like with the upcoming cyclone season just around the corner, And I think Panama's been handled tremendously well, considering. So is that staff member about to start, or are we having trouble finding staff? What's the situation there?
Through the chair, Deputy Mayor, sometimes it is a struggle to get staff, particularly in that nature. So particularly the biosecurity stuff. We have, as you've been aware, we had some vacancies that we carried through the last budget, and I suppose with the new CEO coming on board, we'll hopefully be able to go through and fill some of those roles.
Thank you, Mr Sadler. Any further questions for the officers? If not, would somebody move the recommendation that it be received and noted? Councillor Baines, seconded by Councillor Barnes. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
We now move on to item 3.2, page 94, the Audit Committee report, and Mr Wilson will present this report. Mr Wilson.
Good morning, councillors.
Mr Wilson?
I'm here to talk to the audit report of the 3rd of June 2021. As required by the Local Government Act 2009 and the Local Government Regulation 2012, the minutes of the Audit Committee provides Council with information on relevant matters which it has been reviewed and discussed by the Audit Committee. It is therefore recommended that the Audit Committee minutes held on the 3rd of June be noted by Council.
Thank you, Mr Wilson. Any questions for the officer? If not, would somebody move the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Baines, seconded by Councillor Chewy. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Wilson. Move on to item 3.3, page 105, update of the list of councillor representations. And Ms Kerr will present this report.
I'm back.
Welcome.
So as you're all aware, after the Division 6 by-election, there has been some changes to who represents council on our internal and external committees. So I have changed the current list to show the proposed changes, with also a further recommendation that Councillor Baines also be appointed to Council's Audit Committee. If there's any questions through the chair.
Yeah, Councillor Millwood.
Yes, through the chair. At item 3.3, page 2, where the local authority for waste management, I ask that the amendment be made that I be put as the first contact and Trudy be the alternative in Lawmac.
Oh, external,
Yeah.
sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, that's been noted.
Yep.
One further change that I propose, I've spoken to Councillor McLeod, on the bottom of page 106, the Conservatorium and Management Committee. I'd like to step down and Councillor McLeod take that spot, because when the information centre goes into the con foyer, it'd be good if she had some input in it, given that she holds that portfolio. So that's the other change that I propose. Are there any other comments, councillors? With those changes that have been noted, would somebody move the recommendation, please? Councillor Millwood, seconded by Councillor Chewy. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms Kerr.
Oh, I'm doing the next one.
Move on to 3.4, page 108, the Corporate Governance Framework, and Ms Kerr will present.
Thank you. So Council has developed the attached corporate governance framework. This is to ensure compliance with legislation and best practice within local government. It provides readers with an overview of the governance program that has been put in place in order to assist elected members, management and employees in meeting their governance responsibilities. This council is committed to high standards of corporate governance, accountability, open and transparent processes, and seeks continuous improvement in this regard. It is recommended that council adopt the attached corporate governance framework for 2021.
Thank you, Ms Kerr. Any comments? Councillor Barnes.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Mr Mayor. Seeing that this is such an important document as a council, this is how we run. Like, this is our spine, our backbone. I'd just like to ask the new incoming CEO, are you quite comfortable with this? And have you read it thoroughly?
Through the chair, thanks for the question. Yes, I am comfortable with the documents. Appreciated officers providing or workshopping this document this week, and I am comfortable that this document will provide us the governance and framework required.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Thank you, Mr. CEO. Any further comments, questions? Moved by Councillor Baines, seconded by Councillor Millwood. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move on. Thank you, Ms. Kerr. Move on to item 3.5, page 159. Request for leave of absence for Councillor McLeod. And CEO Mr. Graffin will present this report. Thank you, Councillor McLeod.
Through the chair, this item covers both Councillor McLeod and Councillor Millwood providing requests for a leave of absence. So Councillor McLeod has requested a leave of absence from Monday the 13th of September to Monday the 27th of September inclusive, which will include the local government meeting scheduled to be held on Thursday the 23rd of September. Councillor Millwood has requested a leave of absence from Monday the 20th of September 2021 to Tuesday the 28th of September 2021 inclusive, which will also include the local government meeting scheduled to be held on Thursday the 23rd of September 2021. There's a recommendation there, and I'm recommending that that Council approve the leave of absence for those periods.
Thank you, Mr. Graffin. Any questions or comments, councillors? Somebody move the recommendation. Moved by Councillor Purvin, seconded by Councillor Barnes. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 3.6, page 161. Oh, yeah, yep. Item 3.6, page 161, the annual conference, and Mr. Graffin will present this report.
Through the chair, the Institute of Public Works Engineering Australia annual conference will be held in Cairns, the Convention Centre, from the 12th to 14th of October. This is a comprehensive program which includes practical presentations on asset management, road projects, stormwater management, water supply and project delivery. Other conferences have highlighted panel discussions that look at better resilient, sustainable communities in vulnerable locations. The recommendation is that Council approve the attendance of Councillor Barry Barnes at the Institute of Public Works Engineering Australia annual conference held on the 12th of October to 14th of October, and the registration, travel and accommodation costs to be allocated from Councillor Barnes's budgetary allocation for conferences.
Thank you, Mr. Graffin. Any questions or comments? Councillor Millwood?
Yeah, through the chair. I was just reading about this conference the other day. Is there any line of sight that I could attend and pay for it myself if I wanted to go? Because there's actually some particular things in there about waste that I would be interested in if there was consideration.
I'll pass that one to the CEO.
Through the chair, I'd have to take that on notice, but certainly that consideration could be given. I can come back to Council with a response.
Sure, thanks.
Okay, back to the recommendation. Somebody move the recommendation.
Well, a comment first,
Yep,
if I may,
okay, yep.
Mr Mayor, and at fear of appearing frivolous, but I think it's essential that Councillor Barnes attends, and you can take the crew through Peter and Paul and start stepping them through a few other things. So I think it's great. And look, these conferences are excellent work, and I would suggest that Councillor Millwood, you would get great benefit out of that space. So after that frivolous comment, Mr Mayor, I will move the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Baines. Seconder, Councillor Chewy. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 4, Planning Services, 4.1, page 168, application for reduction of infrastructure charges. And Mr. Jones will present this report.
Just through you, Mr. Chair, I'll be leaving the room for this one.
Thank you, Councillor Purvin. Welcome, Mr. Jones.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Mr Jones.
Through the chair, council's in receipt of a request from Mr. Gary Pedrola for a 100% reduction in the infrastructure charges relating to reconfiguration of a lot 1 into 2 lot situated at 137 Silkwood Japoon Road, Silkwood. The application was approved by a delegated authority by council subject to conditions on the 27th of July 2021, with the decision notice being issued on the 28th of July 2021 with an infrastructure charges for the amount of $17,603.73. Development has demonstrated that generally complies with the eligibility criteria of the policy due to the site not being serviced by council's trunk sewerage network. However, with the proposed development is for the creation of an additional residential lot where a future dwelling house is be required to construct and connect to an on-site septic system. Therefore, the connection to council's trunk infrastructure sewerage network is not required to facilitate the development. It is recommended that the request for 100% reduction in infrastructure charge be approved by council, provided the development is completed prior to the 28th of July 2024. Happy to answer any questions, council.
Thank you, Mr Jones. Any questions for the officer? Would somebody move the recommendation, please? Moved by councillor Baines, seconded by councillor Millward. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. We move on to item 4.2, page 174, application for reduction in infrastructure charges. And councillor Chewy, you've declared a conflict?
Yes, I will be leaving. I'm just waiting for councillor Pervin to be coming in.
Over to you, Mr Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council is in receipt of a request from Mr Glenn Stafford for a 100% reduction in the infrastructure charges relating to a material change of use for a dual occupancy and reconfiguration of a lot situated at 32 Midshipman Street, South Mission Beach. The application was approved by council via delegated authority, subject to conditions on the 2nd of July 2020. The amended negotiated decision notice approval being issued on the 10th of October 2020. The infrastructure charges notice was issued on the 2nd of July 2020 for the amount of $58,679 and 10 cents. Proposed development meets the eligibility criteria for the development outlined within the policy. The proposed development complementary and contribute positively to the Greater Mission Beach local plan area. The development creates two allotments, one allotment which contains the existing dwelling residence and another allotment which will allow dual occupancy to be built, which will create new employment opportunities during the construction and ongoing benefits to the community. It is recommended that the request for 100% reduction in infrastructure charges be approved by council, provided the development is completed prior to the 10th of October 2023. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr Jones. Any questions for the officer? Councillor Baines.
Probably just a reiteration piece. Once this block is split and the other, the two duplexes goes in, that increases the rates base at the same time, does it not? So there's more income coming to council.
Through the chair, correct. So you're getting an extra rateable property, and
Yes.
you're also the rate increase on that particular property due to the dual occupancy.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Baines. Councillor Pervin.
Yeah, through you, Mr Chair. Just a quick question on that. So, for instance, the water charges for connection to water would still be applicable. Is that correct? Connect to water meters. You're not actually waiving those costs, is it? No.
Through the chair, councillor Pervin, this purely relates to infrastructure charges. Any front of house connections in regards to sewage and water is paid for by the developer.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Pervin. Any further questions for the officer? If not, will somebody move the recommendation, please? Moved by councillor Pervin, seconded by councillor McLeod. All in favour? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 4.3, page 184, application for a permanent road closure. And Mr Jones will present this report. Oh yeah, councillor Dewey. Over to you, Mr Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Council has received a letter from the Department of Resources regarding an application by Mrs Carmel and Mr Peter Prettychuk for the permanent road closure of an area of about 390 square metres being part of Brosnan Street, abutting lot 105 on T74610. The permanent road closure is supported in accordance with Council's road closure applications policy. It is recommended the Department of Resources be advised that Council does not object to the permanent road closure of an area of about 390 square metres being part of Brosnan Street, Tully, abutting lot 105 T74610, as shown on lot A on drawing CNS 21/032, locality of Tully, subject to the area being amalgamated into lot 105 on T74610 to form a single lot. Happy to answer any questions, council.
Thank you, Mr Jones. Any questions for the officer? Councillor Barnes.
Good, thank you, Mr Mayor. If you go to that back page there, Byron, that's map A, block A. What's going to happen to the block between block A and the church? Will that be offered to the adjoining landholder, or will that be just kept, will estate land just let the council hold that?
Through the chair, at this stage it's likely to still be council road reserve. However, the church can apply through the same process which the Prettychuks have to buy that parcel of land.
Any further questions for the officer? If not, would somebody move the recommendation, please? Moved by councillor Millwood, seconded by councillor Tui. All in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Mr Jones.
Thank you, councillor.
We move on to general business. Are there any general business items, councillor? Councillor Millwood.
Through the chair, yes, I'd just like to mention that Bells Creek and Cardwell transfer stations are currently in the process of being automated, so please be patient and make sure you check out the council website in the coming weeks for the directions on how this is going to work. And one more thing, it actually saddens me that we got another step closer to having the new entry signs going up, and finding that yesterday I got sent an image of the cement slab south of Tully having been vandalised. So I hope that the culprit is caught and has to pay for the damages and hasn't been put back on our ratepayers. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, councillor Millwood. That matter is in the hands of the CEO for investigation, so it's all noted. Thank you very much for that. Any further general business? Councillor Pervin?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of things I'd like to bring up. Mr. CEO, is it possible for us to get some costings done on how we can get the Eddie Bay toilet facilities to become wheelchair compliant? Could you be able to take that on notice for me and get back to us with some costings on how that could be done? Residents of the community are asking for it, and probably one of the only toilet facilities around here that don't have facilities to become wheelchair accessible. So if we could get those, it would be great. Thank you.
Through the chair, yes, certainly accessibility of those facilities should be a priority.
No worries. And one more. Residents of Innisfail have also sent letters to myself and to Mr. Shane Knuth in relation to Marine Harbour. They would like some further facilities to be put down there. I know the land isn't owned by council. We've got a very small say in that. But if we could show our support to these members that are going to pursue to get some washdown facilities, toilet facilities, stuff like that, if the council, if it's possible, could we show our support behind that to try and get some funding to get something happening down there?
Certainly take that on notice and provide that.
Thank you, councillor Pervin. Councillor Tui?
Thank you. Through you, Mr Mayor. Just, sorry, are you right, councillor Baines?
Sorry. With your indulgence and through you, Mr Chair, and thank you, councillor. Just a little follow-up on that, the amenities at the boat ramps. Under the sustainable fishing plans that councils are going towards, there is some of those sort of assets are looked upon within the sustainable recreational fishing plans and how to make this sort of stuff safer. I understand there are some plans drawn. It's not cheap and it is DTMR, but I would suggest that Cassowary Coast Regional Council has an excellent relationship with DTMR, and I would definitely be supportive of your efforts in that space. I think it's a very good space for us to go, and it also becomes an educational piece about sustainable recreational fishing. You don't have to go out and fill your boat up. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Back to councillor Tui.
Yeah, thank you, councillor Baines. Yes, tomorrow, Friday, September the 10th, is Bravehearts, through Bravehearts. It's they're calling it White Balloon Day, but I'm a bit sensitive about balloons in our environment, so I'm going back to the white ribbon or even wearing a white shirt. And so we asked to support that project by wearing a white shirt, and if you'd like to make a donation to Bravehearts, and those funds will go to help in the protection of children and prevention of child sexual abuse and exploitation. So it's something that we should all be supporting. I believe it does happen, sadly, and I've watched some recent documentaries on television, and it's just incredible what has gone on, and let's hope that we can work together to stop things like that happening in the future. And on a brighter note, on Sunday, September 26th, at the markets at Mission Beach, I'll be having a stall. I haven't actually given it a name, but my aim is to try and connect community with various groups. So I'm inviting people that are in groups, whether it be social, sporting, service, support, craft, cultural, other groups, if they could provide flyers with details of who they are, where they meet, when they meet, and what they actually do. And application or membership forms, if they could drop those into the local libraries, that would be great. And it's just trying to facilitate. We have a lot of new people come to the community and to our area. We've seen that with the planning gentlemen, officers discussing new buildings and things. So I'm just trying to reach out. So whether you're a golf club or you play cards on a Tuesday, or you're a member of Lions or Rotary or other valuable service clubs, if you'd just like to provide information, I will be there on the market day to hopefully spread the word of what's available in our area. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Chewy. Councillor Barnes.
Good, thank you, Mr Mayor. Firstly, I'd just like to let fellow councillors know that the Director of Infrastructure and myself will be attending a meeting this afternoon in Cardwell with Senator McDonald's staff and other interested persons on the dredging of 1 mile, so it'll be interesting to see where that leads. Secondly, we've had a lot of inquiries and complaints about the erection of the new signs of all our towns. This current council has not voted or anything on that matter. This is a matter from the previous council, and it's just been a long time coming, these signs, mainly due COVID. So we'll see where that leads. And thirdly, the cleaning up of our entrances to all our towns. I know our officers have a hell of a time trying to get private entities to clean their blocks and premises. I'd just like to see them just keep pushing that wheelbarrow, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barnes. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you. Through the chair, I would like to mention that yesterday, Business Basics Grant Round 2 for Regional Queensland opened. It's a $5,000 grant, and this support includes funding for training and coaching, website build or upgrades, professional business advice, strategic marketing services, business continuity and succession, and you can go to the Queensland Government website for all businesses in our area. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod. Councillor Baines.
Well, I don't want to feel like the last one left out. So, yes, I do have a general business item, Mr Mayor, and thank you for your indulgence. And, Mr Mayor, I attended the Indian Games function that was Saturday a week ago. Due to COVID, there was a restriction in the sorts of games they could play. They weren't allowed to bring interstate visitors up, so it was all about football and cricket on the day. But, Mr Mayor, there was over 600 people there on the day, and not just from the Indian community. They had a lot of the Pacific Islanders there. I know the final in the football was played against an Indian team and a backpackers team, which had Germans and Englishmen and Irishmen. It was a great game of football to watch. Some of the cricket was really, really exciting. But at the function, Mr Mayor, the Indian Games Committee have presented Council with an award of honour for the support that the Council had given them in a very short time frame in making sure that these games actually proceeded in this area, and they would like to get involved with Council in the planning for next year and see if we can get 1,500 people out there and bring in people from all over the state. So I have the distinct pleasure of presenting our new CEO with his first award for the organisation. So they asked me to present it to the CEO, so with your indulgence, Mr Mayor. That's on behalf of the Indian Games Committee and for the Council for our commitment to their projects.
Thank you. We'll certainly share that with the staff that were involved in supporting that as well. Thank you.
Just a bit of background on the games. We used to have what they called a local area multicultural plan, LAMP. The state government have phased that out over recent years, but the connection with the Sikh community has grown and grown, and that's a reflection of what they deliver on the ground. They're very generous with their time, very generous with their funding. Anybody that shows up to participate or be a spectator, you're well fed. They buy $2,000 worth of pizzas and walk around personally handing a pizza to every person present. So that's how generous that community is. So just want to compliment Councillor Baines for bringing the award forward to our new CEO and our community in general, that we integrate the Sikh community at that level. Any further general business? Councillor Millwood.
Through the chair, today is Are You OK Day, so please take the time to ask your colleagues and family if they're okay. Have a good day.
Thank you, Councillor Millwood. Councillor Pervin.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Just something on Councillor Barnes was just touching on the wayfinding strategy signs. Mr. Goodman, would you be able to give us an update on how we're progressing with them and yeah, where things are at? 'Cause I know there was a bit of issue the other day with some slabs in Tully.
Thank you, Councillor Pervin, through the chair. There have been certainly some issues with a slab being moved for a sign just south of Tully. Councillors, I will be very careful in what I say to you today in an open meeting. We are the contractual issues there are fairly delicate right now at the moment, but we are dealing with that in a way that we hope we'll see the delivery of that signage project in the very near future. It's really about all I can say right now.
Thank you, Mr. Goodman. Councillor Chewy.
Just following on from that, Mr. Goodman, sorry, just in relation to the signs regarding Mission Beach entry, we've had questions as to why they are so far down into the town of Mission Beach, not sort of closer to the road, but my understanding that the Bruce Highway, I beg your pardon, that TMR have a lot to do with it and placement and stuff like that. Do you have any information?
Mr. Jones might be able to provide a much more comprehensive answer than I can.
And also, Mr. Jones, you made a comment earlier that it has to be a certain distance from the road because the sign itself is so structurally strong that if a car were to have impact with it, so we need to make it a safe place to be as well.
Yeah, correct. Thank you for the question, Councillor Chewy. So those particular signs, because of what they're made out of and because they're so robust, they have to be set back 9 metres from the state controlled road through line. And that's a requirement under the Transport Infrastructure Act. So we were very limited on where we could place the signs because the road reserve around Mission Beach in a lot of those areas is very tight and it's got a lot of vegetation that's there. So we were really bound by a few locations to actually put those signs, and that's why they're set back the distance that they are.
Thank you.
Any further general business items? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Goodman. I just want to finish off today's meeting with a statement. Fellow councillors, yesterday Judge Everson found Mr. and Mrs. Toogood guilty of criminal charges brought against them in the Cairns District Court. It is not for me to make comments. However, I do question those who follow social media based on allegations made by convicted criminals and their small group of supporters. Social media has much to answer for. However, I firmly believe the vast majority of our community, who are decent, intelligent citizens, will now see the matter for what it really is. With those few words, I declare the meeting closed at 10:38. Thanks, everybody.